Hello friends, this is Durga again from IT University, a one-stop shop to learn all the technologies. So as part of this video, we will talk about setting up cluster on VMs, especially using virtual machines. So for that, we mentioned that prerequisites are 16 GB RAM and virtualization software is required, either VMware Workstation for PC or Fusion for Mac, and you need to have at least 100 GB free space. Once that is done, typically at a higher level on a very large cluster, we will have client nodes, we will have masters, and we will have slaves. Okay, the client nodes will have only the binaries, but we will not have any daemon process such as name node, data node, or any other daemon process in Hadoop ecosystem running on the client. It will be primarily used to manage the cluster, to stage the data before copying into HDFS, to copy the data from clients into HDFS, and also to run the MapReduce or any other Hadoop based applications on the cluster. We will be using this client, and masters are the ones which will be used to configure master components such as name node, Cloudera manager itself, and other masters, and slaves are the ones which will be many in the cluster, as I have explained earlier. And we will be setting up slaves on each node, slave software process on each node that is designated as slaves in the cluster. So, and then we will have several RDBMSs. We will have several sources that will be coming from where data will be sourced. They can be RDBMS systems, they can be mainframe servers, they can be web logs or any other open systems. All these will be sources into our cluster, but they will be channelized through clients. Okay, and then on a cluster we will have one or two clients and tens to hundreds of slaves and few masters. Those masters can be monitoring server, name node, secondary or passive name node, resource manager, zookeeper, etc. So there will be many such things. Okay, but if you see on each and every masters, clients as well as slaves, we need to install something called monitoring server and agent and the client for each of the component. The client nodes will have clients for each of the component. We will see that when we actually start setting up the cluster. So for VMs, we will be using 4 nodes. So make sure you install VMware Workstation or Fusion. Clone 4 VMs, one for master, and we need to have 4 GB RAM. So let's validate. I have already cloned those 4 VMs. Let's validate the settings by clicking on the settings, or you can also click on virtual machine and click on settings here. For Windows, it will be a little bit different. And let's see the process, the RAM. So this one have 4 GB memory, and the other ones also, if you see, go to memory, this one also have 4 GB. So as I have 4 nodes, if I give 4 for each of them and also 2 process for each of them, my system can become unstable. So except for node 01, for node 02, node 03, node 04, make sure you reduce the memory to 2 GB. You can leave the number of process as 2 for now. If you have any performance issue, make sure you reduce the number of process for each of the slave as well. So to make that change, we have to shut down the server. Each of them we have to shut down. And then we have to reduce the memory by going to settings. I want to give 2048. If you give 4 GB each, it will add up to 16 GB, and your servers will start, or even your PC or Mac will start running out of memory. Hence, we have to reduce it to 2048 or 2 GB for 3 slaves. Okay, so make sure VM names contains only alphanumeric characters. If you have hyphens or anything, it can cause some issues. So don't add any hyphens or anything in the names of the VMs. And then we have to set up the yum repository server on the first one, the node 01 in our case, and we have to configure yum client on each of the other slave nodes. Okay, so the steps for setting up yum is to set up HTTPD server on the master, and then create necessary repo files and copy them to all the hosts. When I say repo files, they are just repo configuration files, so we should not copy the entire repository on all the nodes in the cluster. So by doing this, what we are trying to do is we are eliminating the necessity for our nodes to connect to the public repositories over internet for setting up the cluster. We will pre-download all the binaries that are required for setting up Cloudera, and we will be creating a local yum repository. If you want to understand more about yum repository, you can go on to my other videos where I have explained about yum. It's primarily to download and install the softwares in Red Hat based systems, and if you have to set up the local repository, you have to set up HTTPD server on the master. So our master is node 01. So make sure you connect to node 01, and first thing you have to do is you have to do yum-y install HTTPD. It will not take very long time, and then you have to say etc/etc/ httpd /cons/httpd.cons. So this is the path you have to go. Hit enter and search for 80. Wherever you have 80, you have to give our host name or IP address. In this case, I am giving the host name, node 01 itversity.com. Here you have to uncomment this line, and then node 01.itversity.com. Here you have to uncomment all these lines. Okay, and then node 01.itversity.com and replace dummy host example.com with node 01.itversity.com. When you do this, you have to be extremely careful with typos. Lot of people make typos here, and they will have significant issues later. So you have to be extremely careful with the typos. And then here you have to say where. So this is the location for document root on the yum server where we will have the repositories. Okay, and make sure you copy this path, and then mkdir -p, hit enter to create the directory location, and then service httpd restart to start our http server. To validate that, make sure you have the your hosts file updated with all the 4 IP addresses, such as like this. Cat ttc hosts, and you can see that our host file is updated with the IP addresses. Once we set up HTTP, you can copy this path, go to your browser and say http:// and hit enter. If your HTTPD service is successfully installed, you will see a page like this. Okay, and you should do this after restarting our HTTPD server. Okay, so now we have set up HTTPD, and now we have to configure the local M repository for Cloudera. So for that, you can go to Google, Cloudera local M repository, search for it and click on this link, and it will explain how to set up the local M repository. And you have to go through the instructions for CentOS or Oracle or Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6 version. So this is the link for the repo file. Repo file is nothing but the configuration file. You will see that in a moment. Okay, and then go to cd etc m.repos.d and then run wget and paste that path. Wget is not installed on this, so just yum install wget on our server or on our virtual machine and then run the wget. Now you can see that the repo file for Cloudera CDH5 is downloaded, and if you cat that file, you can see that it is pointing to some repositories on internet on public URL called archive.cloudera.com, which is managed by Cloudera itself. Okay, once you downloaded that, you have to yum install yum utils and create repo, so that we can actually create repository for installing Cloudera on our cluster. Okay, so I am doing this. Yes, once it is installed, you can run repo sync, and the location you should run this is under etc, sorry, not etc, where, which is our document root, www.docs node01itversity.com. Here you can run this command called reposync -r Cloudera CDH5, and this will take a while to download all the repositories, so that we can actually create a repository. Once the reposync is done, we will proceed with further steps, and we will complete setting up local yum repository for Cloudera. So it can take significant amount of time depending upon the internet speed. So let's see once it is downloaded completely. So far only 25% is downloaded, still 75% to go, more than 75%, up to 80% to go, because it just touched 32 packages out of 118. So while it is downloading, I have opened another window, and I will be showing what is happening under our document root, which is where www.docs node01itversity.com, and this is where we are actually downloading our repositories. If you go to this path and hit ls-ltr, you can see there is a directory called rpms. Okay, and then if you go to rpms, ls-ltr, it has created noarch and x86_64 directories. And if you go to our the repository file, which is m.repos.d /Cloudera CDH5.repo, you can see the path is little bit different. It says CDH5 Red Hat 6 x86 64 CDH5, and then the RPMs will be there in this location. So if you go to this path, that is the base URL from where the files are being copied to this location. Okay, so this RPMs directory, which is under this location, is being copied to this location. So we will try to create the directory layout as per here. So what you can do is you can copy this path CDH5 Red Hat 68664 CDH5. Okay, copy this path and then run mkdir -p. So we will go to our document root, which is this one. This is our document root. Under document root, we will copy. We will create the directory layout with the same path which is being used in the public repository. Okay, now we have the complete path. Only difference between the repo file which is used for public and which we will be using for a local repository is this one. Instead of archive.cloudera.com, we have to give the public DNS or IP address or alias or hostname, fully qualified hostname which is accessible, have to be replaced, have to replace this archive.cloudera.com. So in this case, we have to delete this archive.cloudera.com and replace with node01.itversity.com, and we will take care of it once all our repositories are downloaded. Okay. Apart from, and also what we have to do is we have to copy the RPMs directory. Once everything is downloaded, we have to copy the contents of this directory to this path, or move the contents of this directory, which is RPMs, to this path, and then we will be able to access the repositories locally. We will do that once all the repositories are downloaded. So far 52 out of 118 are downloaded. So the repositories are downloaded successfully. So what we have to do is, I have to do the directory Cloudera CDH5 RPM directory. I want to copy it to CDH5 Red Hat 6 here and hit enter, and then ls-ltr on this path, and we can see the RPMs directory here. Once you do this, you go to etc m.repos.d/cloudera cdh5.repo, and here you have to replace archive.cloudera with node01.itversity. Okay, and save it, and then what you have to do is you have to run this command, and this has to be run under the subdirectory 5/ wherever we have the RPMs directory. So again, I am going to my doc root, which is www docs node01 itversity cdh5 Red Hat 6 x86_64 cdh5. In this location, I have to run that create repo command. Copy that command. Make sure you are in the directory where the RPMs directory is also there, and then run this command create repo dot. Okay, now the what it will do is it will create a directory called repo data, and in the repo data directory you will have a file called repomd.xml. It will have the internal references to the binary files that are required to set up Cloudera Manager and also CDH, which stands for Cloudera Distribution of Hadoop. Once you are done with it, what you have to do is you have to run yum repo-list command, and this command should not throw any of the errors like this. If it is throwing any of the errors like this, that means there is an issue with our configuration. We have to troubleshoot and fix it. Okay, so let me see what is the issue here. I need to verify that we have the file under the document root, which is this one. So it is there. That means if the path is resolving to appropriate location, that means there is a issue with HTTP itself. So what you have to do is, first you have to run this command, whether HTTPD is up and running or not. It is running. That means there is an issue with HTTPD configuration. Okay, and here let's search for all the locations where we have 80. node01itversity.com, server name is node01itversity.com, virtual host name is node01itversity.com. Everything looks good. Okay, telnet localhost 80. Make sure you install telnet. Okay, that means there is something wrong with the HTTPD. Let me start. Okay, I know what is the issue is. So the issue is here vi etc m.repos.d Cloudera CDH5.repo. Here we should not use HTTPS, it should be HTTP. Okay, now it is done, and now if I run m repo list command, it is working as expected. You can see that there is no error and it is resolving into proper CDH repository. So this is how you set up the Cloudera repository locally on one of the servers, and we need to copy this file onto all the other 3 nodes as well. For that, first you need to make sure that all the other 3 nodes are started. So I am starting all the other 3 nodes. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to scp/etc repos.d and Cloudera CDH5.repo to root at node 02, the same path etc m.repos.d. You can give the name of the file or you can ignore, the same file name will be used. Now it is copied onto node 02, and now I will be copying it to node 03 and to node 04. Once you copy, make sure you validate that mrepo list command on each of the node will work. That you can do it by using ssh root at node 02. In the double quotes you can give the command mrepo list. What it will do is it will connect to the node 02 as root, and it will run on that node 02, and it will display the output here, and it will exit from it and come back to node 01. So there is no need to run ssh command and then mrepo list and then exit and come out. You can just run commands through ssh directly from one of the nodes on all the other nodes. So now I am validating on node 03. In node 02 the command is successful. In node 03 it is running now. It is also successful in node 03, and now we will be doing it on the node 04 as well. So it is successful even on the node 04. So let me revisit. First you need to install the HTTP server and make the changes to this file vi etc httpd conf httpd.conf. This is the path, and here search for search for 80, and before it used to just have listen 80, and before 80 I have entered this node01 itversity.com column. So I am using the IP address to listen on this server, and then once you modify that, this one used to be commented out, so I have removed the comment, and it used to be star colon 80. I have replaced star with node01.itversity.com, and then here also it used to be star colon 80, and I have removed that and replaced with node01itversity.com. I have replaced the star with node01.itversity.com, and then here also it used to be star, and also all these lines used to be commented out. So there used to be hash on each of these lines. I have deleted all the lines. I have replaced the star with node01.itversity.com here, and then replace whatever is there. It used to be dummy host.example.com, and I replaced with node01itversity.com on all these lines without touching the other strings apart from that dummy host example.com. So what I have done is I have just used this command, the old string, whatever it was, and then I have given the node01.itversity.com. That old string is replaced with node01itversity.com in all these lines. Once that is done, we have restarted the HTTPD using this command. Once it is restarted, what we have done is we have searched for this one, Cloudera local yum repository. We clicked on this link. First we have downloaded the repo file for CentOS 6, Red Hat CentOS and Oracle 6, because our OS is CentOS 6, that you can get by running the command uname -a. So whatever version you have here, you have to use the appropriate repo file here. Okay, and once that is done, we have installed yum utils and create repo, and then under this location I have ran reposync -r cloudera -cdh5, which have downloaded a directory called rpms from the public Cloudera repository. Once that is done, I have created the directory structure CDH5 Red Hat 6 x86 64 CDH5, and I have moved the rpms directory from here to there to this path, and then once it is done, I have ran create repo dot command here, and also I have replaced etc m.repos.d Cloudera cdh5.repo. It used to be https, I have changed it to http, and then here it used to be archive.cloudera.com. I have replaced with node01.itversity.com in both the lines. Once those changes are made, I have ran this create repo dot command, which have downloaded this repo data directory. Okay, and then we have copied the yum repos.d Cloudera cdh5.repo file onto all the nodes in the cluster, and we have validated that all the nodes can connect to this centralized yum repository, which have the Cloudera binaries pre-downloaded. So this is how we can actually set up a local yum repository for the Cloudera distribution. So going forward, we will continue this. We have to set up prerequisites, and then we have to install Cloudera manager, and then we will use the wizard to set up the rest of the components that comes as part of the CDH or Cloudera distribution of Hadoop. That being said, I hope you are enjoying the content on the channel. If you like this video, please click on the like button. If you want to provide the feedback, please use the comment section of the video. If you want to discuss further about the certification, please join my LinkedIn group called itversity-certifications. For big data, please join my LinkedIn group called itversity-big data. And finally, if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. You will get to see a lot more content like this over time. Thank you. Bye.